So there seems to be a bit of controversy or back and forth between those who hate the new Ghost in the Shell adaptation versus past versions of the story and Major as a character, where people aren't liking the more fun personality, expressive, extroverted version of Major versus the more serious and stoic one. And the argument is, well, the new one is more faithful to the manga where Major is outgoing, sort of a goofball and pleasure seeking, and it's ruining people's impression of her who have never read the manga, which I do understand. To me, it was shocking as well when I first read the manga and saw how different she was portrayed in the 1995 movie version. The tone is completely different, not just the writing or character depictions, but even the colors being more vibrant in certain panels. Now, I was looking forward to this 2026 adaptation, excited through the trailers, different frame shots that teased what was soon to come, and when the first episode dropped, I was pleased with what I got, satisfied with how they brought certain panels to life, especially when she sets the dummy trap with that goofy dumb expression and catches her opponent off guard. I thought, job well done. Certain shots I love seeing being animated, especially this one capturing that epic cover and attraction of Major as well as the heavies, not shy to embrace how pronounced those things really are and how they should be.
Hell yes.
As well as the cherry blossom scene with them lounging about having a few drinks. I thought it was absolutely beautiful with no complaints. I really like this animation style for this version. The ghost hacking scenes were brought to life, showing how these fights aren't just physical but abstract in a way, and how you're always kept on your toes needing to stay alert. I can't wait for later episodes where we'll dive into different settings to see more of the cyberpunk world from what has already been shown so far. Now, some complaints I had at first, and it was just a few, was the removal of some dialogue I was anticipating as the scene was playing out. When her crew ghost dives into her brain to communicate the details of the coming mission, they go a bit too far and start to see some sides of Major she would have rather kept private, understandably so. And when they jokingly comment on it saying, hey, there's a lot of clutter in your brain, Major, she gets embarrassed.
情報は仕入れただろ。これだからデリカシーのない野郎どもを脳に入れるのは嫌なんだ。
Saying, hey, I'm on my period, like, give me a break. But they cut that out. For reasons in current day, I can only assume why, but I'll save that for another video, but we did kind of discuss it in my latest live stream. But little lines like that may seem trivial, but it's those little nuances that lends more to her personality and how she'll just say whatever past what's expected of a lady. She's extroverted in that way and what helps define her as a character. They did show more of her expression in this scene though, which I liked, of being more embarrassed, calling them insensitive jerks, where in the manga panel they just showed a city view where we just read what she's saying rather than seeing her expression while saying it, which this expression is consistent with her personality. As I said, this original version of her is much more expressive, and if you're not fully used to it or are constantly comparing it to the movie version, it may be off-putting, but she has a range of expressions throughout the manga which makes me laugh. I love that type of humor being expressed through art. Also, the opening and music could have been better, to be honest. I want more of a cyberpunk synthesized 80s feel to make me really feel immersed in that cyberpunk world. I think that would have really made it complete. But hopefully later episodes will give us that music. But still, the opening, they could have went harder. I also thought the famous thermal optic shoot 'em up scene could have been executed better. It's like they held back on the blood splatter and how the body explodes. That's a famous scene where a good amount of the budget should have went, because the thermal illusion effect could have went way further in detail, in my opinion. It wasn't bad, it's just not as good as it could have been. But other than that, at first watch, overall, I was very satisfied with what I was watching, enjoying it all the way through. Surprised how accurate it was, damn near panel for panel. Glad it was even #1 in a certain category on Amazon, so really shout out. Then days later, the debate began with all the points I mentioned at the beginning, to which I dismissed and glossed over because I thought, oh, these are people who didn't read the manga, so it's more ignorance or not liking the original Major compared to the other versions. They're just not aware, which I understand. It's not like I read every manga on earth. But then I saw people who did read the manga also not liking this new adaptation, and that's where I got curious, thinking, okay, this is interesting. What were their issues with it? I know I have an overall favorable point of view of it, but let me try to be objective and hear them out. And one complaint was the color or animation style of it, saying it was way overdone, too bright, too colorful. So I thought, but the manga is much more colorful compared to different versions where the colors are much more kind of dim and dark, which suits the more seriousness of other versions. But then they gave the example of the Ghost in the Shell PlayStation game, which I completely forgot about. My brother, who is an artist, great artist, who I actually get points from here and there, is a big fan of Masamune, his favorite, which is the Ghost in the Shell artist. I think outside of Metal Gear Solid artist Yoji Shinkawa, he's also a big fan of him as well. And I remember him showing me these cutscenes years ago, joking how the game is the most faithful adaptation of the manga. Not just the characters, but the animation as well. So when somebody brought that up to criticize the anime by saying the cutscenes capture the proper aesthetic more than the 2026 adaptation, I went back and watched all the cutscenes to get a fair perspective. And in some regards, I will say I see what they're saying. These cutscenes are beautifully animated as well. They also get the colors right from certain panels too. The difference is the brightness is not as much as the 2026 adaptation. I can see where one would prefer this over the Science Saru choice of style, and I get it. In some aspects, there are parts where I would agree. But I have to admit, I still love the 2026 adaptation, thinking it's beautifully done. Almost shocked when watching certain scenes how well of a job they did. And I may get a lot of hate for that, but you know, it is what it is. Plus, it's only the first episode, so truthfully speaking, it's way too early to give a full comparison or give a full take. So a lot of people should be fair in realizing that. It's only the first episode. But overall, so far, I'm enjoying this. I'm fully committed to watching every episode as it's released. It's one of the few where I can't wait for the next episode, while others I'll push off until the weekend comes to watch. This, along with Cleaver Test, Mushoku Tensei, and some others. Again, I can understand this won't be for some viewers who are way too accustomed to the 95 movie or the other versions. I get it, because that animation, how detailed it is in the 95 version, they really crafted that like no other. It would be hard to surpass that and maybe impossible. Plus the soundtrack is immaculate and classic, timeless. I still listen to it to this day while at work. Floating Museum, Night Stalker, fits that movie's vibe so well. I remember watching that as a kid, shaping my perspective that anime aren't just some old cartoons. This shit is different. But again, it's only the first episode and I loved it. Anticipating everything we'll get in future episodes, excited for what's to come. But that's all I have for this video. Tell me what you think in the comment section below. Again, I'm glad to see this original version brought to life. Major is actually very, very funny with an attitude, and to see her animated in this manner is a gift to watch, and I'm glad I'm alive for it. So also, if you want to support the content I create, consider joining my channel, becoming a member. It's much appreciated. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Free think. Peace.